Hey, what's up guys? Chris07 here with a part 3 of our adding a vehicle tutorial. This is the final part and should be fairly quick in comparison to the other two videos, which were incredibly long. But if you haven't checked out our first two videos, please check them out, and maybe you might know what's going on here. Or maybe you're just awesome like that and already know what's going on and haven't seen them. But either way, check out the links at the bottom right of this video, and they will take you to those videos and you can enjoy the awesomeness of them. Alright, so in the previous two videos we've actually managed to get our vehicle into game through the editor, and then we actually were able in the second video to get it into the actual in-game callout menu. Now what we want to do is we want to fine-tune it and kind of customize it a little more by adding a custom name and description to the callout menu for that vehicle. So to do that, we're actually going to need two very important files, and we're actually going to steal them from the base game. And to do that, we need to go to our 911 first responders folder, or emergency 4, depending on what your installation is. And we're going to go to the data folder. Remember, here's our mods folder. We actually want to go to the data folder, which has all the base game stuff in it. And we're going to go to the lang folder, go to US, or whatever your language is. Since this is an English tutorial, I'm just assuming that you're going to use the US version, but who knows? I could be wrong. Or it could actually also be EN. Particularly in the emergency 4 version of the game, so it might not be US, it might be EN. But apparently US and EN are two different languages. I don't know. It's all English to me. So I am looking for the portraits.xml. I'm actually going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my 911 first responders or emergency 4 folder, go to my mods folder, go to mod awesome, which is the modification we're working in right now, and go to my lang, en, and so these are folders that we created in the first video, and Control V to paste that portraits.xml. Cool. Alright, what next? We need just the proper portraits. Let's see here. Yes. That looks about what we want, right? Maybe I should have checked it before I actually told you to do that. That looks about right, right? Yeah, that works. Okay. Sorry for that little delay there. Okay, so let's we need some more files. I'm sorry. So let's go to data, lang, US, and again, this is all in the base game folder. Okay, I need info texts. Yes, I do need info texts, so we're going to copy that as well. And actually, I think that's it. I think we just needed portraits and info text. So let me copy that, Control C, go back to my mods folder, mod awesome, lang, en, and copy that in, or paste that in. Go back to my 911 first responders folder or emergency 4 folder, go to data, and now this time we're going to go into specs. And in this one, we're going to look for portraits. Portraits. Do I need to take vehicles? Let me see. No, I do not need to take vehicles. No. Okay. Let's go to portraits. Control copy. Or Control C, which copies. And mods, mod awesome. And go to our specs folder, and we're going to throw that in there. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much what we need. So to get started, what we need to do is go to our units folder, vehicles, ambulance, 100 NEMS ambulance 01, and we need to open up our unit XML. Now we're going to be editing it, so again, if you have your game installed under the programs file directory in your Windows installation, you need to make sure you open your text editor in administrative mode, otherwise it will not save. So I'm actually going to clean house here a little bit. Let me close all these other goodies. Okay, so this is that unit XML I just opened. What I'm concerned about here is unit ID and then RTW. So what we essentially did in the last video is we copied over the unit XML from the base game ambulance, and then we just modified it to fit our needs here. So it's still linked to all the names and descriptions of the base game ambulance. That's not what we want. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to change the unit ID. And we're going to name it to something that whatever we want. So let's name it NEMSA ambulance. No, let's shorten it up. NEMSA AMB 01. Okay. So that'll work. Technically, it can be whatever you want to call it, and that's all we need is just that option there. Save. Close out. Now we're going to go to our specs folder. Go to the portraits.xml, open that up, and let's find our RTW entry. Okay, so actually I'm going to copy that, and then at the bottom here I'm going to add it. I'm going to paste, and I'm going to change the prototype to match our custom vehicle, so it's actually under the 01 ambulance folder, and it is NEMSA underscore ambulance 001. Okay, and now the text field is going to be the exact same as our unit ID from the unit file, the unit XML file. So we're going to call this NEMSA, all capital, AMB 01. And this also needs to match the exact, the text portion technically did not have to match what we entered in the unit XML file, but the unit attribute here actually does have to match what we entered in the unit XML file, because that's how it's making the link here. So NEMSA AMB 01. All right, that looks pretty good. We'll save. We will close, and we will exit, and now we're going to go back out and we're going to open our lang folder. Okay, so now that we've made that connection, we've connected the that unique ID to the portrait, we've connected all that stuff. Now we can actually add an entry into the actual description and names and stuff. So let's actually start with the portraits XML in this folder. So again, we're under lang and then en for English, or whatever language that you have chosen. And this is going to be a basic name. So let's see. I'm going to find the RTW entry. Okay, so there's that. So I'm actually going to copy that line, Control C, create a new line, paste it, and right here there's this name attribute has ID underscore portrait, and I'm actually going to change that RTW portion to the unique ID that I created in the unit XML file. So it's going to be NEMSA, all capital, AMB 01. Okay, and now I can actually name it whatever I want to. So we're going to call this NEMSA medic. Oh gosh, I forget what skin I used. I think it was 512, I think. Something like that. No, it was 21, I'm sorry. Medic 21. Okay, so we'll do that. Okay, so that's good. Save, Control S, close, and close. Next, info text. Open that up. So now let's actually find the ambulance one here. Okay, so technically I could copy any of these. It doesn't really matter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. So what I need a string name, I need an ID name, I need an ID purpose, I need an ID tooltip, and I need an ID ABBR for abbreviation. Okay, I need one of each of those. So I'm just going to copy this little section here. It doesn't matter which one I copy, I'm just going to do that. And I'm actually going to go to the very bottom of the file here. And between this string. I want to be above the strings tag here. So if I go, actually, if I went to paste it outside, that would cause a problem, and it probably would not work because it is outside of the strings tag. Okay, so this is just one of those XML things that you just kind of have to play by the rules with. So you have to do it within that closing strings tag, otherwise you're going to have a problem. So we just added that in. Well, you know what? This is actually in the items area, so I actually don't want to do that. So let me remove those and let me find where the vehicles end. Probably somewhere up here. Let me see. These are people, RHC, RTW, ITW, RHF. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's just throw it underneath the RTW. Okay, so here's the last RTW entry, abbreviation RTW, and there's the ITW. So we're just going to throw it in between those two entries, and we're going to paste in. Okay, so the first option here is the name. Okay, so I'm going to edit that. It is a little confusing that they're next to each other because RTW, RTW up here, but I just want to make sure that I am starting with the name because that is the first part that I copied here. And I'm going to name that my unique ID that I set in unit XML. Actually, this needs to be the same as you set in the portrait XML in the specs folder under the text. Yes, under the text attribute. That name needs to be the same here, but to keep things easy, I just made that unique ID all the way across. So this is going to be NEMSA AMB01. Okay, and we're going to remove the RTW here, so that way it's going to say NEMSA AMB01. So I got ID purpose underscore NEMSA AMB01. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here, and the same thing again here. Okay. I'm sure you can get creative with your namings, but that was pretty much just the easy first thing to come to my mind. So now the name. This is the full name of whatever that vehicle is. So we're actually going to change it. We're going to call it NEMSA Medic Ambulance. No, we're going to call it NEMSA Ambulance Medic 21. Okay, and the purpose is actually the full description, the little description that appears in the side menu here. And if you actually look, there are these little doodads here. These are actually color codes and formatting codes. And to be completely honest, I'm not exactly sure how these work. I actually did not know about these until fairly recently. So I am going to play it safe, and I'm just not going to use them. Sorry guys, I'm not all-knowing as I lead myself or lead you all to believe. But I'm just going to create a very short description, and it can be whatever you want. I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to think so. Okay, so I just wrote a little something there. The tooltip name is the name that appears on the actual command bar. So at the bottom of the screen when you select the vehicle, that name. So I could actually have this huge long name for the callout menu, which is the name here, and have a little shorter version for the command bar when you actually select it and view it at the bottom of the screen in game. So to mark those differences, I'm actually going to name it slightly different. I'm just going to call this Medic 21. Okay, and the abbreviation, not exactly sure where that shows up, but I will just create one anyway, M21. I'll do it that way. Okay, perfect. I think that is actually about it. So let's go into game and see if in fact that was everything we needed to do. Okay guys, so I am here in game. So I'm going to load up the modification, go to modifications and mod awesome, hit OK. And this should load up pretty quickly. And we will hit free play and hit OK. Man, I wish all mods loaded this quickly. I guess it's just loading base game and like 2 other items, but yeah. Alright, so we're gonna actually take a look at our vehicle now. Ooh, it looks like something didn't quite work out. As you can see, when I hover over it, I get ID tooltip nemsa amb 01, which means it's not actually registering anything. And these, to kind of troubleshoot, these other ones actually have their names and stuff, so they're actually working, so it's not going to be an XML error. If it was an XML error, like I didn't put a closing bracket in something or accidentally deleted a quotation mark somewhere I wasn't supposed to, then all these would probably be messed up too. Let me see, all these are good, so it doesn't appear to be an XML error. It's probably something I misnamed somewhere. So it's looking for ID name nemsa amb 01, and you can see here's the ID purpose that would go there. The name would go here, and actually if we called it out and I hover over it, you can see the portrait would be right here too. So this is the portrait name that we added. Okay, so I was actually wrong about the tooltip name. The tooltip name actually has to do with hovering over it on the selection menu here. Okay, so see, I'm not always right. I kind of just fly by the seat of my pants. Okay, so we need to go back to those XML files and we need to see what went wrong. So let's go do some detective work. Okay, so I'm out of the game, back in my mods folder here, back in mod awesome, and I need to go through and just make sure that I didn't misspell something or whatever, because that would cause a problem. So my unit XML is spelled properly, so nemsa amb01. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to keep that. This is actually my info text still open from the last time we edited that. So if I go to lang en info texts, which is this here, I should see everything spelled correctly, right? ID purpose and nemsa. Okay, this is very odd, and everything looks pretty good. Okay, that's probably not the issue. So let's check out portraits. Portraits, there it is, and ID portrait. Remember, this is the actually turned out to be the name on the command bar, nemsa amb01. Okay, so that's there. So you know, it actually probably is the specs folder, and that's probably what it is. So let's go into specs, let's go into portrait, and let's find out what we got here. Okay, so portrait, prototypes, vehicle 01, ambulance, nemsa ambulance 01, E4P, text. Okay, that looks good. Interesting. Okay, so everything actually looks okay, and for some very weird reason it is not picking it up. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to do some fiddling around. I'm going to do some more detective work for the sake of time off camera, and once I figured this bad boy out, I will be right back and I'll tell you what's up. Okay guys, so after about 10 minutes I was actually able to figure out what the problem was, and it's actually not very obvious. I actually had to do some deductive reasoning to kind of figure out what was going on, and essentially what I discovered was the XML and all the files that we edited, I did an online validation of them and they're all fine, and I knew that because there wasn't other symptoms that would signify a problem in the XML or me accidentally messing up the XML files. So that wasn't the issue. The issue was it was recognizing that there was a vehicle of ID of nemsa ambulance 01 or nemsa amb 01, but it just wasn't linking to the actual portrait and info text files in the lang folder. So after some digging around and kind of looking, I figured out that there's actually another XML file that we're supposed to put in the specs folder that kind of tells the mod where to look for the lang files. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to go to my 911 first responders folder, or emergency 4, depending on what version of the game you have. I'm going to go to data. So we're in the base game now, and we're going to look at the base game specs, and we are going to copy this metastrings.xml. Alright, so we're going to copy that, Control C, and we're going to go back to our mods folder, mod awesome, and go to our specs folder, and we're going to paste this bad boy in here. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to open this up in our text editor, and what we need to do now is we need to info text is one of the ones that we edited, right? And portraits is the other one we edited. Okay, so as you can see here, this is telling the game where to look for these lang files. And since we don't have our own, at least before we didn't have our own metastrings.xml, it was using the base game version, which is what you see here. So it was actually loading the info text and the portraits XML file from the base game, and the vehicle that we added in is not defined in those XML files. It's defined in the mod version of those XML files. So what we need to do is we need to tell it to look in our actual mod for those files since we have them created. So instead of changing all of these, since we haven't created all of these in our mod, we're just going to point the ones that we've actually edited and have in our mod to our mod. So I'm going to delete the little colon and the lang there, and I'm going to type in mod colon and then capital L-A-N-G for lang, and that is the exact spelling of how we spelled our lang folder. And then we have it in an en directory for English, and then a slash, and then our infotext.xml. Okay, that's all we want to do. Go down to portraits.xml since we edit that one as well, and we're going to do the same thing, mod. So we're telling it to look in our mod folder, not the base game, and en and slash, and that's it. So if we were to change all of these, since we don't have them defined, you'd notice that all the text and stuff on the main menu and all over the game would be weird. You'd see like ID and then underscore and then value. It'd be everywhere. Okay, so since we don't have them defined, we want them to still point to the base game version of it. Okay, so if we were to, just through the course of your mod, if you were to ever edit any of these files and kind of make any adjustments to them, you need to make sure that you update your metastrings XML and make sure that it's pointing to your modification. Alright, cool. So if we save that, that should fix our problem. So let's go ahead and launch the game and see where that takes us. Okay guys, so I am back in game and I have loaded the modification and I am loading up free play, and I'm going to pull the vehicle out and we should see the descriptions. And we hover over it, yep, and there it is, Medic 21.
Someone has fallen and is slightly
and
injured. Treat and remove.
We open that up, and this is a terrible time for a mission to start because it's covering up, but if you can kind of squeeze through there and see, it says NEMSA Ambulance Medic 21, just like we defined it, and here again it says the little description that we created. Perfect. So let's pull it out and highlight it, and there is that NEMSA Medic 21. That's it, guys. Just like that. It was a little more complicated than I thought it was going to be, but hey, didn't take forever. So again, guys, if you have any questions, please leave a comment, or even better, there is a link in the description to an awesome community with a lot more talented people than myself, and there's a lot of experience there, and they'll be glad to answer your questions, and that's probably the best place to ask questions, since you won't be waiting on just me to answer the question for you. So thank you guys again for watching, and this is the end of our adding a vehicle tutorial series. Thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more EM4 tutorials.